Hi, and welcome to Learning with Ms. Lasley. Today I'll be talking to you about positive language, what it means, and how to use it. So, when I think of positive language, when I was first introduced to positive language, I remember thinking that positive language meant that I was not allowed to say no to children. And I know a lot of parents felt this way too, thinking, okay, positive language sounds great, but assuming that I can never say no to my child is not only unrealistic, but also not very functional. Mostly because no, the word no is something that your child will hear their whole life. Whether or not you use it in your home, they will hear it growing up. They will also hear it all through their adult life. No has a place. It sets boundaries. Telling someone to stop doing something or using the word no has its place because it helps people understand what to do and what not to do, specifically what not to do. So when I'm talking about positive language, I don't mean never telling your child no. I also don't mean that everything you say to your child needs to be super positive and upbeat, because realistically, that's just not how parenting works. That's just not how life works. So when I mean positive language to me means a constructive approach. So instead of talking to your child and saying, no, don't do that, it's providing just kind of a different way to say the same thing, but doing it constructively, basically giving them options and giving them a chance to tell them what to do instead of what not to do. It's very much versus the can versus the can't. So that's a very big thing with positive language. Again, it's not about telling your kids never saying no. You will eventually have to use no, and that's one of those things that they'll have to know that as an adult, and they will have to know that as a kid. So as an example, if I'm going to use a positive language idea with this example, my example would be, instead of saying, like, let's say you have your young child that's trying to play in the kitchen where there's knives and things like that where you would need to use. So let's say your child is playing in there and you say, hey, don't do that. So that statement in itself is not a bad one. The child shouldn't be playing there because it's dangerous. But instead of saying, don't do that, or you could say, hey, that's not very safe. Let's play somewhere else instead. So you see the little bit of difference. It's still telling that child to stop doing what they're doing because it's unsafe, but it's also giving them what they can do. So that's very big in positive language. Instead of telling the child what not to do, you can tell them, hey, please stop what you're doing, and then you can do something else. So another example would be, let's say your child is pushing your other child. This could be elementary all the way through high school, theoretically. Instead of saying don't push, it could be, hey, let's keep our hands to ourselves so we're safe. Again, saying the same thing, but it's offering a constructive approach. It's offering them a chance to do the right thing versus just telling them to stop doing the wrong thing. So that's a big thing, especially when you're using positive language. Be specific. So instead of saying stop doing that, that's pretty unspecific. It's very difficult for your child, especially if they're younger, to really understand, well, what are you even asking me to stop doing? Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not so much. So instead of saying stop doing that, it's, hey, please don't push your brother. That's just not safe. Let's do something else instead. Or let's use our words to talk to our brother instead. It's telling the child to stop doing what they're doing, but it's also giving them a chance to do the right thing and to do what they should. So I would also say, with using positive language, offering choices. So that's another constructive approach. You're offering them a chance to do the right thing. So offering choices for success. It also teaches them independence. So when you're saying, let's say your child is playing, like I said, in the kitchen or somewhere that's not very safe, say, okay, this is not a safe place to play. Maybe you can play in the living room, or you could play downstairs in the game room, or you could play outside on the play set. Those would be different options. So allowing the change up, instead of saying stop doing that, it's here, please stop doing that, but also can you try to do something else? So maybe you can play, just do it in a safer, more fun environment. So all of these things are helpful. I hope this is helpful for you. I really just wanted to clear up what positive language meant, because I remember thinking that when I entered kind of the childcare arena, I remember hearing that with positive language meant that I could never tell a child no. And I remember thinking that, of course, I want to help the child handle things and I want them to feel empowered, but it was so unrealistic to assume that I could never tell a child no. Like, sometimes boundaries just have to be set. And that doesn't mean yelling, but it also means that sometimes you just have to tell a child no, or to stop doing something. But as I'm learning, and I'm learning a lot more about positive approach, means basically just allowing your child to have a reasonable chance for success. So giving them options and telling them what they can do versus what they can't do. So I hope this was helpful. Please go ahead and make sure to keep up on my website. So I have a whole bunch of new resources on there. I also have put up new services. So I just began a company called Learning with Mrs. Lasley, and it's where I can offer tutoring or educational consulting, homeschool help, distance learning assistance. So all of these things potentially could be helpful for you or maybe another family that you know. So go ahead and check out learningmrslasley.com. Hopefully I can help you or your family and with this upcoming school year, because it's coming up real fast. So go ahead and please make sure to like and subscribe this video if you like it. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and happy learning.